Now, so many more. Women who just dreamed to go into health care, not as a nurse, although some chose that and some men do as well, but as physicians. This was something that I truly believe changed. I would ask unanimous consent for 5 additional minutes and then turn it over to Senator Hutchison.
Without objection, that's going to run us way past our adjournment time.
Well, Ms. President,
without objection,
there was only one Jerry Ferraro, so I would go for 5 minutes and turn it over to Senator Hutchison for as long as she would want. After graduation from college, Jerry got a job as a second-grade teacher at a public school in Queens. She applied to Fordham Law School. That's the law school my husband went to. She was accepted into the night program. Despite a warning, listen to this, from an admissions officer that she might be taking a man's place. She got into law school. She was one of 2 women in a class of 179. Imagine they said to her, you will be taking a man's place in law school. But she persevered, one of just 2 women out of 179 students graduating in 1960. Yes, she raised her family. She adored her family. There wasn't a second that went by without her saying to one of us, who anywhere near shot, I got to tell you about Laura. I got to tell you about John. I got to tell you about what my kids are doing. Did my colleague want to?
I would ask if the senator from California would just yield for
yes.
a brief statement.
As long as it won't interrupt my...
It won't. I'd ask that it be put at a separate place in the record, and I will put a written statement in the record because I know Senator Hutchison is waiting. But I would like to just make 1 or 2 comments about Geraldine Ferraro.
Yes.
First, my image of Geraldine Ferraro is this young congresswoman from California with her arms outstretched as you race toward one another in that iconic photograph of the 2 of you after she won the vice presidential nomination. I'll remember you and her in that context forever. Second, it was my honor to serve with her in the House and to count her as a friend. And third, in this long, long battle that she had, this medical battle, she never failed to remind all of us that she was indeed one of the fortunate ones who had the resources to be able to fight this battle where many people didn't. And I'm going to miss Geraldine Ferraro. She was a great American, and I ask consent that my statement, official statement, be put in the record after that of Senator Hutchison.
Without objection.
Thank you.
Well, I'm very glad you made that statement, and I appreciate it very much. When Jerry worked as an assistant district attorney, she formed a Special Victims Bureau, investigated rape, child and women abuse, abuse against the elderly, at a time when no one was talking about it. She was elected to Congress. Senator Mikulski has gone into that, the work on the Women's Health Equity Act. I was proud to work with both Senators Mikulski and Senator Ferraro on that, and Senator Snowe and others. I remember that Senator Mikulski, Olympia Snowe, Jerry Ferraro, and myself, we worked to open up the House gym to women. It was a battle. We had to resort to singing and everything else. We finally got into the House gym. We said, yes, women need to work out too. That's the way it was then. We only had 24 women in the House and Senate. Now we have 88 of us. Now, I'll skip over her time as a broadcaster and all the things she did that Senator Mikulski talked about, her work in human rights. But I want to just conclude with her brave, brave, brave spirit as she faced multiple myeloma, the bone cancer that ultimately took her life. And I want to do it in this context. I have a good friend now whose name is Robin, and her mother is battling the same kind of cancer that Jerry is battling. And as we know, Jerry was given 4 or 5 years and went on, thank God, for much longer. This woman lives far away from her daughter, Robin. And when Jerry passed, she called her. And she said, I need to see you. Will you come out and stay with me as I battle this cancer? And Robin said, well, what is it? Mom, you're doing great. And she said, we just lost Jerry, and she was the one who kept my heart and soul together and my spirits up, and I knew she was there battling. And now that I've lost her, she said, I've lost her. I don't know. I feel a hole. I'm empty. And that just is the most eloquent thing I could say about Jerry. Now, this woman never met Geraldine Ferraro in person, but Jerry had that way about her. that she could reach you as if she was touching you. And it's a tremendous loss, first and foremost for the family, who she adored beyond words, and secondly for all the rest of us who just need someone like that out there standing up and being brave and telling it like it is and never giving up. Mr. President, I just am so honored that I could be here with my colleagues, and I'm proud to yield to Senator Hutchinson for as much time as she may consume.
Senator Hutchinson, the time is allocated as 5 minutes, but I know you want to speak. You were a very dear friend, and please proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Mikulski. Thank you, Senator Boxer. Thank you, Mr. President. I do want to talk about this remarkable woman because I think that, as has been mentioned before, her loss is being felt throughout America for many different reasons. She was a trailblazer, and she was one of the great female role models of her generation. I wrote a book in 2004 called American Heroines, the Spirited Women Who Shaped Our Country. And it was to profile the women who were the earliest trailblazers in different fields: education, sports, politics, journalism. And then I interviewed contemporary women who were still breaking barriers in those fields. In the public service chapter, I profiled Margaret Chase Smith because she was the longest-serving woman elected to the Senate in her own right at the time, and she was a true trailblazer. I interviewed then Sandra Day O'Connor, our first woman Supreme Court Justice, and Geraldine Ferraro, our first woman nominee for Vice President of a major party. I asked Jerry Ferraro in my interview with her, what was your most important trait for success? And she said, I think the ability to work hard, and if something doesn't work, to learn from the mistake and move on. That's what's happened with my own life. It goes to the personal side, she said, from watching my mother, who moved on after becoming a widow with 2 kids to support. She was 39 years old. Then I watched her move on and do whatever was necessary to get the job done of educating her children. I'm exactly the same way. I'll do whatever is necessary to get the job done, whatever it is. And then if I do something that doesn't work, I go on to the next goal. I asked her what was her biggest obstacle. She almost laughed. She said, I'm 68. The obstacles in my life have changed with time. An obstacle when I was a kid was being in boarding school away from my mother because my father had died. I had no choice. It wasn't like the boarding schools or the prep schools of today. It was in a semi-cloistered convent. It was lonely, and I had to work hard. I wanted to go to college, but we didn't have the money for college, so I knew I had to get top marks in order to get a scholarship. That was my obstacle then. Money was always an obstacle, she said. I taught when I went to law school at night because I couldn't afford to go during the day. When she applied for law school, she said they would say things to her like, Jerry, are you serious? You're taking a man's place, you know. And then, after getting out of law school, as was mentioned earlier, she was one of only 2 women in her class. She got out of law school, and she was faced with the challenge of trying to get a job. But she said, I interviewed at 5 law firms. I was in the top 10% of my class. But she didn't get a job offer. Well, I related to that because I graduated from law school after her in 1967, and law firms in Texas didn't hire women then either. So I know how she felt as she went through obstacle and obstacles and obstacles. But she said, you know, in the end, each thing was an obstacle that I had to get by at the time, but I didn't have too many obstacles because she just picked herself up and kept right on going. She truly was an inspiration and a trailblazer for women of our time. Throughout her life, as a public school teacher, as an assistant district attorney, as a congresswoman and candidate for vice president, Jerry Ferraro fought for the causes that were important to her. And when she learned that she had multiple myeloma, a somewhat rare blood disease that is incurable, she drew upon that same fighting spirit. As she waged the battle with her own disease, Jerry stepped into the spotlight because she knew that if she talked about it with her high profile, that she could bring help to others. Her testimony before Congress was instrumental in the passage of a bill that Senator Mikulski, who is on the floor leading this effort today, and I co-sponsored together in 2001 and 2002. Our legislation gave the research community the tools they need to discover what triggers these deadly blood diseases, to devise better treatments, and to work toward a cure. In our bill, Barbara and I decided to name the Geraldine Ferraro Blood Cancer Education Program for Jerry Ferraro, to raise the awareness and spread the life-saving information about myeloma, leukemia, and other forms of blood cancer. Jerry Ferraro was on the floor of the House when our bill, passed the House of Representatives on April 30 of 2002. Her daughter was in the gallery with my staffer, and there was so much joy in her eyes and her demeanor. But then, Jerry Ferraro went about the business of fashioning the education program. She consulted with the doctors at Harvard, at Dana-Farber, Dr. Ken Anderson, her doctor, consulted with him because she wanted an interactive website, because she knew that doctors all over the country were searching for information on treatment on this disease because they were so unaware at the time of what you could do to help patients. Well, this is personal to me because my brother Alan also has multiple myeloma. And I got involved in this because I watched him bravely fight like Jerry Ferraro was doing. And my brother is a great patient. He's tough like Jerry, he's fighting like Jerry, and he's doing really well. But we knew how hard it was because we watched Alan fight this disease and take many of the same drugs and have the same doctor consultations as Jerry. So Jerry and Alan knew each other and traded information, and the patients in these blood diseases do that. They reach out. They help each other because they know that it's the person with the experience who knows how you feel when you just don't feel like you can get up in the morning. People like Kathy Giusti, who was also a good friend of Jerry Ferraro's and Ken Anderson's, they traded information, and it helped all of them to know that they had that kind of support. So she was an inspiration, and her dignity and grace in fighting multiple myeloma will be one of her trademarks in her life, along with the other great trailblazing things that she has done. Just last month, the women of the Senate pulled together to return the encouragement. We knew that Jerry was having a hard time, and we took a picture of the women of the Senate, and we all signed it around the edges, and we sent it to her, and we said, thanks for being our champion. Thanks for all you do for the women of our country. And Jerry was not just a champion for women running for public office. She was a champion for women to succeed in every field, in every sector. She took the first powerful swing at the glass ceiling. She won't be here to see the woman president who is sworn into office, who will finish the breaking of that glass ceiling. But we will all be standing on the shoulders of Jerry Ferraro, and certainly that first woman president will as well, because she took those first steps, like so many of the early trailblazers in all of the different sectors. The first ones don't see their success. But what they do by showing the dignity and the courage and the tenacity and the grace does prepare the way for the next generation or the next woman to move to the next level. And that's what Jerry Ferraro has done for all the women of our country. I will always remember her friendship. I will appreciate her leadership. And we will all miss her on a personal level, but we will always remember in the bigger picture what she did for this country. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Mikulski. And I yield the floor.
I yield the floor to Senator Snowe.
Mr. President.
Senator from Maine.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I want to thank our senior colleague from the state of Maryland, Senator Mikulski, for organizing this tribute to our dear friend, Geraldine Ferraro, and to hear the comments, the eloquent comments from my colleague from Texas, Senator Hutchinson, as well. And I'm pleased today to be able to join in this tribute with my good friends and colleagues, Senator Barbara Mikulski, of course, and Senator Barbara Boxer as well of California. And as I look back in our time, as I began my service in the U.S. House of Representatives, I can't help but think about today we're standing here honoring a compatriot of ours from that time, and as an electoral trailblazer, a political torchbearer, the incomparable and courageous Geraldine Ferraro, who passed away this last Saturday after a brave and resilient 12-year battle with cancer. As many will hear in this Senate many times over, Geraldine was a pioneering champion and a dynamic force for women and women's rights, a stalwart legislator and a colleague of all three of us in the U.S. House of Representatives, and always a dear friend through more than 3 decades. As America's first female vice presidential nominee for a major party, Geraldine has forever secured a legendary position along the timeline of American political history, as Walter Mondale selected her as his running mate in the 1984 presidential election. While America was learning about Geraldine on the national stage, Madam President, as you will recall, that Senator Mikulski and Senator Boxer and I knew as a legislative sisters in arms. As we all served together in the U.S. House of Representatives, and Geraldine and I were members of the same House freshman class that began service in January of 1979, that at that time, unbelievably, brought the total number of women serving in the 96th Congress to 16. And all 4 of us, as you will recall, Madam President, fought for myriad causes, most especially those affecting America's women. And looking back at that time, I take enormous pride, as I know both Senators Mikulski and Boxer do, that we spoke as women first, not as Republicans or Democrats, that women's issues transcended partisan lines for us. The fact was we just couldn't afford to draw partisan lines with women underrepresented in Congress. And that idea is what drove our agenda at the Bipartisan Congressional Caucus for a Women's Issue, which I happened to co-chair for more than 10 years in the House of Representatives, along with the co-chair of Congresswoman Pat Schroeder from Colorado. Our adherence to working together and the ideal of principle over politics became our foundation. We determined if we didn't act, who would? And we started to make a difference for women, and not a moment too soon. Because there was a time in America where federal laws were systematically working against women, discriminating against women, as women were assuming more of a role not only at home, but also in the workplace. And the federal laws did not reflect the dual responsibilities of those roles, as women were assuming more and more obligations in the workplace. Well, we weren't going to accept the status quo any longer. And certainly Geraldine was not one to ever countenance the notion of that's just the way it is. To the contrary, we began to confront those disparities for women head-on, introduced a package of laws that was known as the Women's Economic Equity Act that addressed a litany of provisions that called for a study of government's pay practices, sought to ensure equal credit for women in business ventures, and battled with Geraldine, who led the effort to end pension award discrimination against women who are discovering upon their husband's death that unbeknownst to them, they've been left with absolutely no pension benefits. They wouldn't be notified until their husband's death as to whether or not they even had spousal benefits, that in fact, without their knowledge, they had been canceled prior to their death. And a group of women legislators that was not, shall we say, comprised of shrinking violets, so no one gave greater voice to these issues, no one demonstrated more passion in their advocacy, no one pressed for remedies to right these wrongs with more verve and skill than Geraldine Ferraro. She was a bulwark against injustice and a cherished champion for fairness in America, where women were increasing their roles in American life and their presence in the U.S. workplace and the economy. On a personal note, I can't help but think that part of our mutual bond was that we came from similar backgrounds. Our families immigrated to this great land. Hers was from Italy and mine from Greece. Our heritages spoke to the very best of our nation's mosaic and the American dream, where anything is possible and the only limits you have are those that you place on yourself. Indeed, the New York Times mentions how Geraldine's mother crocheted beads on wedding dresses to send her to the best schools. My Aunt Mary worked 11 to 7 a.m. night shift in the textile mills in Lewiston, Maine to earn money to ensure my cousins and I received a good education. Although Geraldine and I didn't agree on every issue, we shared an unequivocal determination to make a lasting difference on issues for women's and working families and an unerring focus that surmounted politics and party labels. Not surprisingly, more than 30 years later, Geraldine's legacy lives on through the 74 women serving the other body today compared to the 16 when we first entered the U.S. House of Representatives, where the President, the presiding officer, was serving in the U.S. House of Representatives even before our time in 1978, as well as the 17 women who are now in the United States Senate. In fact, back in 1979, there was only one woman serving in the United States Senate at that time. In closing, I can't help but recall the great Lady Astor, who was the first woman to ever serve in the British House of Parliament. In fact, one day she took her seat in that distinguished body. A member of Parliament turned to her and said, "Welcome to the most exclusive men's club in Europe," demonstrating the kind of moxie and a sense of obligation that were truly the hallmark of America's Geraldine Ferraro. Lady Astor responded, "It won't be exclusive for long," she said. "When I came in, I left the door wide open." Well, that's precisely what Geraldine Ferraro did. She espoused and exemplified, so memorably articulated by Lady Astor, that it's not enough to break old barriers and chart a new course. You have to ensure that others are able to traverse it as well. Geraldine spent a lifetime making certain that the path she helped pave was available and accessible to every woman with the courage and the will to travel. And so today it's a privilege for me to extol this remarkable woman whose indelible imprint upon the political and public policy arenas will be felt for generations to come. Our thoughts and prayers remain with her husband of 50 years, John, as well as their children, Donna, John Jr., and Laura, and Geraldine's 8 grandchildren. May they be comforted by the knowledge that so many share in their profound sense of loss. And I well recall our many conversations that we had in our early service in the U.S. House of Representatives and how much she adored her husband and her family. They meant so much to her. Also a reminder that she was very much a woman ahead of her time, having a legal profession, raising a family, and then entering the political arena, and then making sure those doors were thrown open for all women in America, fighting for the discriminatory practices that were, prevalent at the time in the workplace, and certainly even in federal law. And I always like to point out to younger generation of women that it wasn't so long ago that there were so many federal laws in place that served as barriers and impediments to growth in the workplace, growth in education, and the ability to compete on an equal level. And Geraldine helped to serve to break those barriers without question and left a remarkable legacy that will resonate for generations. So, Madam President, thank you for offering us this opportunity to pay tribute and to honor this woman who will always, forever, have a place in history, and one with whom we shared, fortunately, a friendship and memories that will last a lifetime. Madam President, I yield the floor.
Madam President.
The senator from New Hampshire.
Madam President, I know we are about to close the Senate, but I wanted to just take a minute or two to add my voice to all of the women in the Senate who have been here today, and thank you for your leadership in encouraging us to honor Geraldine Ferraro. I remember being on the floor of the 1984 Democratic Convention when she gave her acceptance speech for the Vice President of the United States, and it was electric. Listening to her epitomized for me, and I'm sure for every woman there, the fact that women could do anything. And Geraldine Ferraro worked tirelessly on behalf of human rights and women's rights around the globe. She dedicated her public service to the ideals of respect and equality, and she lived a career that called on all women to challenge the glass ceilings of the world. And I think it's particularly important because just because one woman breaks the glass ceiling, it doesn't mean that opportunities are open to every woman. And she understood that and continued to encourage all of the ceilings across the world be broken for women. Her life was a powerful example for all of us here who are honoring her today, and for our daughters and granddaughters. We thank her for leading the way. She will be missed. Thank you, Madam President.
The Senate now stands in recess until 2:15 p.m.
The Senate is taking a break now for their weekly party meetings. When senators return at 2